So I'm just starting recording now, and let's have a look. We've got some letters left from Friday, Miss Kathy Jones. So let's have a look at who we've had so far. Rosita, okay. That's yours on Friday. Shakir. Asma, okay, we took a look at those. Mary, Eileen, and Samane or Samain. Not sure how to say that. So Sandeep, now, okay, let's have a look at yours now. Okay. So I've got the changes on, and I'll put these. I'll post this again in easy class so we can see. Now I've got the case notes here. Let me just remind myself of these. So we've got a suspected ectopic pregnancy. Okay, so we're referring Miss Jones to the registrar, urgent assessment, and we want to be kept informed of the outcome. Okay, so that's the main important part of the task. Now, the other reason why, well, it's not the only reason why, the main reason I mention this every time, because I get letters every day, and a lot of people are using the same generic introductions. I am writing to refer for your further management. Okay, but you've got to go into the task. What exactly does it ask you to do? You know, people keep using these same copied, memorized, generic expressions, and I suppose it will do. But if you want to get as high a score as possible, and I think you should always aim as high as possible. Although one guy in the group a couple of days back says, I only need 350, I only need a B. And I said, well, why don't you aim as high as possible, and then your grade would be guaranteed. Don't take the easy option. You know, I don't think that's a good thing in any sphere or subject. You should always aim as high as possible. Anyway, that being said, as per the telephonic, telephonic? I don't mean to laugh, but nobody says that nowadays. Nobody says it. Okay, nobody says that. Telephone conversation, or as per our telephone conversation. But who exactly? Because it says the gynecology registrar, so we ring the on-duty registrar, but it might not be the same registrar who you're writing to, because the call is, you are calling whoever's on duty at the time. So who you're writing to might not be the same person. So to avoid that, I would simply say, I am writing to refer Miss Jones because it's urgent assessment and treatment, whose clinical features are, I will appreciate it. Well, if it's I will appreciate it, I would make it subjunctive. I would appreciate it if, because it's a conditional sentence. Yeah, I would appreciate it if you update me on her outcomes, presumably. Well, of the outcome. We wouldn't use a plural there, so that's not too bad. The telephone, as per the telephonic, I mean, you say as per our telephone conversation, but it's not clear from the case notes precisely who you were speaking to. I would probably not include that. I would probably not use it. But apart from that, the rest of it's good, okay? Urgent, a suggestive of, and you mention you want to be updated. Okay, that's good. Initially, now we don't have to put a comma after Miss or Ms, because actually Ms is not the same as Miss. Ms comes out of the feminism of the PC way not to assume that someone is automatically Mrs. or Ms. So if it's Miss, if you've put Miss at the start, then I would say Miss. Miss Jones consulted me for lower abdominal pain, which she was experiencing since last evening. Now, when you are reporting, reporting speech, your verbs have to move back into the past because there is no last evening. When you are reporting, this is for, I say, report and speech. When you are reporting, there is no last evening. The reference doesn't apply when you are reporting it to someone else. So it would have to be since the previous evening. So Mr. Jones consulted me for lower abdomen pain, which she was experiencing. And again, so it's kind of using these mixture of tenses because what's the date? So it's 17th. So this was 2 days ago. No, hang on, that's 2009. So hang on a second. Let me just have a look at these case notes because I'm confused here with the timings. Let's have a look. Right, so 2009. 2009. So right. This is why I'm confused here because you've used these different dates. Yeah, so 2009. Now it's 2018, and you've put today's date is 2009. So that's why I'm confused. Why has it jumped 9 years in total? Okay. So initially, Miss Jones got something which she had been experiencing because it's in the past, right? So was experiencing, simple past. I would use past perfect, which she had been experiencing since the previous, right. So let me. Okay, now that's how I would do it. I won't use the simple past. When you are reporting, and we want to say when exactly, so which you had been experiencing since the previous evening. Because last evening we can't use because this was 2 days ago. This was a day before, and you are writing on the 17th. So you're writing 2 days later. So it can't be last. It must be the previous. Okay. So, okay, which you had been experiencing since. Right. So since I had a couple of letters again, as I mentioned, which I was correcting before we started. Misusing for and since. So just to clear this up, if you're using for and since as adverbs, so for refers to a period of time. Okay, so for example, which she had been experiencing for the previous 24 hours. So that's a period. Or which she had been experiencing since is a point in time. Since Tuesday night, since last a night. Okay, so for is usually a period which she had been experiencing for the previous 24 hours, a period, or which she had been experiencing since a point last night. So that's the difference between for and since. Okay, for a lower abdomen pain, well, it's a singular pain. I mean, pain can be countable. I mean, I could say I have a pain in my neck. That is countable, surely. Oh, doctor, I've got a terrible pain in my stomach. That is countable, yeah. So lower abdominal pain, which should be, and also here. So when you now, someone was asking me about article use. Yeah. So one of the very basic guidelines about article use is when you introduce something at first, we usually use indefinite article, which we have here, and then every subsequent use a definite article. Yeah. So it's singular, and also when you introduce something at first. So, oh, doctor, I have a terrible pain in my stomach. Oh, really? Since when have you had the pain? So when you introduce it first, indefinite article, every subsequent use, definite article. So that's good. So all I would do, as I say, I would have changed that since which she had been experiencing since, or which she had been experiencing for 20, or which she had experienced for 24 hours. Okay. Pain was more produced in, now I would put an article in front of this because it's a particular thing. V right iliac fossa. It's a specific body part. It's not an area. Abdomen, vagina, is the maltendinous in the right fossa and right fornix. You can put a definite article there, but because we put one there, it's okay. She was advised to follow up next day. Well, she can't follow up. That's what you do. She was advised to return, but to follow something up, she can't follow herself up. You have to follow up. Okay, so she was advised to return for a follow-up. Okay, and next day, we need a definite article, the next day. So either she was advised to return the next day, or she was advised to return for a follow-up the next day. One of those two. Okay. Dean, Miss Jones informed. Informed who? We need an object. Who's being informed? Me. In the reception area, is it a particular, is it a is it a known area, a particular area? Yes, so we need a definite article. Now, another brief note on an article is if it's something which is commonly known or accepted, the kitchen, the bathroom, the reception area, the hospital, we use a definite article. Okay. So while waiting in the reception area, she had a fainting episode. Her pain has worsened overnight, and also having now just having this continuous verb form, a gerund here. It's not, you know, it's not strictly grammatically sound. So I wouldn't have put the reception area fainting first. I would have put her pain. Miss Jones informed me that her pain had worsened overnight. So informed me, it's simple past, had worsened past perfect. You could have done it like that. Miss Jones informed me that her pain had worsened. Yeah. So usually when you're using past perfect to indicate a sequence, you've got one use of simple past. Well, you know, as I said, Miss Jones informed, simple past, me that her pain had worsened, past perfect, overnight. So she had a fainting episode, so her pain has worsened overnight, and also she had or she, now, if the bleeding is continuous, or if it's continuing since last overnight, sorry, pain worsened overnight, and also she, I would say, experiencing, or if it's ongoing, Let me look at the case notes. Pain is worsened, some slight vaginal bleeding overnight also. Okay. Is worsened also night, as well as having, that's better, as well as having slight vaginal bleeding. Okay. A vital sign, well, there's two signs there. Isn't that two signs? Little signs, amount, hypertension, and tachycardia. On examination, in addition to a raised tenderness or raised tenderness in general, a marked guarding was noticed. What was noticed? I noticed. We need some pronoun or a marked guarding was noticed. I noticed. Somebody has got to notice it. So if it's passive or active, we need either a verb or a pronoun. A marked guarding was noticed in the right. Fossa. Put an article there. Vaginal examination, circle excitation, and increased tenderness in the right fornix. A pregnancy test revealed a positive pregnancy. Okay. I would be tempted to connect that, because simply if you drop in a sentence without any connection to the previous one, it disrupts the general flow of the letter. So maybe put some introductory sentence. Also, her pregnancy test. Just for your notice. Okay, now I understand what you mean, but we wouldn't use that. No, the native would say just for your notice. We'd either say for your attention, or please note, or for your information. Just for your notice doesn't really sound natural. So I would avoid that. For your information, for your attention, just to inform you, maybe, but just for your notice doesn't quite work. It's not very natural. I'll just put a note there so you can. Miss Jones was on POP 2 months ago and is sexually active since then. Is sexually active since. Why are we using present simple using since? Surely using since we need present perfect has been sexually active, or is currently sexual. So if you want to use present simple, either is sexually active currently, all right, or has been sexually active since. Okay, so I would choose one of those two. Okay, and is sexually active or has been sexually active since. Mental periods are regular and have, positive, have, her, is that singular? And has. The mental periods are irregular and have. See, now using this have, it reads like her periods have a family history. And that's, I suspect, not what you intended. So her menstrual periods are irregular, and who has? She has a positive family history of deep vein thrombosis. Based on my clinical knowledge, as opposed to based on your automotive knowledge, I don't think we really need to include that. Just, what do you suspect? So you say something like, with this in mind, given the above, I suspect. Now, why are you using present continuous? Why are you using present continuous? Why not use present simple, I suspect? So I wouldn't use that, because we do hope that your assessment is based on your clinical knowledge and not on something else. So we can take that for granted. So what you could do is say something like, with this in mind, given the above, those kind of expressions, I suspect. So we don't need that. And ectopic pregnancy, and for the discussion with the, because it's a specific person with VR due to gynecology registrar. I'm referring what? What are you referring? We need some object. I am referring Miss Jones or the patient. Your urgent assessment and treatment, please keep me updated on her outcomes, or on her outcome, or on the outcome. I don't know how many outcomes you think she might having. Oh, feel free to reach me back. Nobody says that. That's not very natural. No. Please feel free to contact me at any time. Something, but reach me back. It's not very natural. I certainly won't use it. So, feel free to contact me at any time. So, well, so we've got a fair bit of work to do for this particular letter. Lots of grammar, yeah, lots of grammar, lots of missing articles, verb form uses. So, yeah, quite a lot of stuff for you to have a look at. So some of these expressions and phrases are not very natural, those that I mentioned. I'll highlight and unnecessary. We don't, actually need that. So subject, verb, missing pronouns, incorrect verb form use, articles. So there's quite a lot of grammar here. Okay, if you want to contact me about that at a later date, but you can see there's been a lot of grammar corrections there. With that in mind, Sandy, do you have any particular questions you want to ask about a grammar? Is Sandy there? Is he still there? Yeah. Sandy, have you got any questions? Short. I can turn your microphone on if you want to ask any. No? Okay. So I say, you need to really work on the grammar, I think. Right, Shaheen. I don't know if he's here. Let me just have a look. I don't think he's online now. Let's have a look at this one. But I don't think he's online, but I'll do it in any case. Miss Kathy Jones, right. Urgent admission. This patient was demonstrated teacher pregnancy for further assessment. Okay, you can do it like that. We've got a relative clause. You could have maybe mentioned, please keep me informed of the outcome. You can put that there. Miss Jones initially presented at evening at. Oh dear, right. Now, this needs a bit of formatting. I copied it from something. So at. Now, in terms of preposition of place, at, in, on, in the evening at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, in, at, on. So in the evening, complaining of the pain of the lower abdomen, physical examination, a physical examination, make it complete, reveal tenderness and right phonics, some marked tenderness. Now, you notice he's used definite articles here, okay? Okay, yeah, that's good. She was of acute abdomen, what? Abdomen trouble, abdomen issues, pain, I don't know. She was reassured and was advised to return next morning for further. You see, that's good, parallel structure. Was reassured, was advised. Simple past. Today, her conditionation. I see, very good, present perfect, has deteriorated, and the pain became severe and constant. So the pain became severe. Okay, because we've got present perfect there, we can actually let she also experienced vaginal bleeding. Show tip on assessment. Didn't say anything about her fainting. Didn't mention that. Do you think the fainting episode should be mentioned? Because I would think so. I mean, if you faint in the reception, that you think, you know, you should mention it, or somebody would have said, by the way, I collapsed in the reception area. You know, maybe the doctor should be aware of that. Well, if she found out that she's pregnant, I suppose her heartbeat might well be slightly increased. Of note, she's been in a relationship past 2 months, been opposed to both. I suspect pregnancy, which is now third. That isn't bad. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Not many. Only 2 grammar mistakes: preposition and indefinite article. That's not bad. The quality of grammar and English in this letter is quite good. Not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, and G, are you there? Let me just have a look. Are you there, G? Ah, G, right. This one's yours. Let's have a look. So, assessment and management. Okay. Yeah, that is good. You could put about. Have you put anything about being informed of the outcome? Have you mentioned that? I can't see it. It's part of a task. It does specifically mention as part of the task, ask to be informed of the outcome. So you have to do it. You must include it. It's part of a task. Okay. Initial misjudgment tend to my colleague abdominal pain. Now, in terms of articles, right? You can use lower abdominal pain in general, or if you're talking about a specific particular pain, you can use an article. You know. So again, it depends. I mean, if I went to the doctor, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. I would probably say I have a pain in my stomach. Oh, doctor, I've got a terrible pain. Or if you're using a gerund, you can say, I'm feeling pain. Oh, I'm feeling pain, or I'm feeling this pain, or a pain. So I would probably use an article, just to be on the safe side. Examination mark tenderness were found. Right, this were found. Give issue to come back for blood test on the following day. Okay, yeah, that's good. Regrettably has worsened. Put a comma there. Coupled with bleeding per. Well, it's a slight. I would probably say slight vaginal bleeding. What's it say in the case notes? Something about slight vaginal, but what's it say? Slight vaginal bleeding, with bleeding for vagina with slight bleeding. You need some kind of quantifier. Is it major bleeding? Is it only slight bleeding? Is it mild? Is it I don't know. You can't say large, significant. I don't know. But we need some quantifier. I'm sure. And right, and a shoulder tip pain on the left side. Okay. Examinations were revealed. Examinations. Why is that? Were we don't need that. You could just say examination. Now, was it one examination? I mean, examinations implies 2. So presumably it depends if you're talking about one general examination that you did on a particular day, or if you're talking about did she have a series of separate examinations. So we'll keep it here. We'll keep it as a plural, talking about examinations in general as an abstract noun. Examinations regarding about tenderness and positive cervical excitation with the right phonics, tenderness. Although your pregnancy test was positive, she's unable to mention her last menstrual period as she's had regular bleeding. Oh, right. This is a bit complicated run-on sentence. Okay. Although your pregnancy test was positive, she was unable to mention her last period as she had regular bleeding since starting POP pills 2 months back. That's a little bit long, overly complicated. We can cut that down. Okay. That's what it did. She had regular bleeding since starting POP 2 months back. She had regular bleeding. Yeah, you could maybe cut that sentence down because it's a little bit long of a sentence. Please note she has a family history of deep fibrosis. This is her first pregnancy. In view of above, warrants some, right. In the view. So it's either in view of the. So, right, this needs rephrasing. That's not very natural. So you would either do something, right, like in view of the above. Oops. She would do something like this. In view of the above, I believe this warrants. Okay. Or, so in view of the above, I believe this warrants, or something else like, I believe these, I can't know, what am I doing? I believe the symptoms warrant a referral. Okay, so you need to change that, all right? Not in the view of above. In view of the above, this warrants. So we need some pronoun, we need something in front of warrants, right? I believe this warrants, or, so we need something in front of that verb. So a gynecologist would appreciate if you could examine and treat Miss Jones appropriately, as opposed to inappropriately, and for information regarding this patient. So in terms of task fulfillment, you should have included asking to be kept informed. Right, that's what I would say there, because it's pretty clear in the notes. It's pretty clear in the task notes. It does say inform me, ask to be kept informed. So that's something that you would definitely need to include. Okay, so that's the Sally. I don't know why I keep saying Sally. Kathy Jones. Kathy Jones. So now, does anybody have any questions about those 2 letters that we've just done before I move on to Mr. Mustafa? Do we have any questions about anything? You can either type your question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and I'll turn your microphone on. Does anybody want to ask anything or make any comments? Anybody? Okay. Where is min? Where is mine? Didn't we just look at yours? Didn't we just look at yours? Or didn't we do yours before? Let's have a look. Didn't we do yours before? I think I've got yours on Mustafawi. Oh, no, hang on. Just have a look. Sandeep Shaheen G. Where is mine? Well, I don't know where yours is. I suspect that it's in the next file for Mr. Mustafa. We'll take a look at that in a second. Rashid has got a question. Let me see if I can turn your microphone on. Okay, have you got a question?
Sir, tenderness of tenderness over the right phone is also tenderness. Do you need to put an article before tenderness?
Well, no, it's an adjective, tenderness. So it depends on how the rest of the sentence is constructed. I mean, you could say the tenderness in blah 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 was, or I found a tenderness in blah blah blah, or simply, or you could say there was tenderness.
Examination reveal a tenderness in the abdomen.
You could say that. I mean, it depends if you mean tenderness in general that covers the whole of the stomach, or a particular spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of these nouns can be either countable, uncountable, singular, or plural. If it's the first mention, indefinite. If it's a subsequent mention, if it's a particular, a tenderness. Right. So, for example, I noticed a tenderness in her stomach, or abdomen. Then later, you could either use a pronoun or an article. This tenderness was, etc. The tenderness was subsequently treated with, etc. You know, so it's a bit confusing. I know that some people find article use to be quite complicated, because it is. There's some general guidelines which I'm sure you're all aware of. When you introduce something at first, and subsequently, if it's general or specific, if it's known or unknown, it depends on the circumstances. I mean, in those examples which I gave, you can have, you know, I first noticed a tenderness in her, etc. The tenderness was blah blah blah. Tenderness was noted if it's passive. So, you know, in those three examples there, it could be indefinite, could be definite, it could be zero article use. So we'll have to have a session possibly later this week on articles. I did say that I would try and find the time. We'll see if we can do that. So let's get on to the next batch of letters. Mr. Mustafa, let me find that and see. Okie doke. Can you see which one's this? Hang on. That's the wrong one. Where is it? Share. Mr. Oh, right. Can you see this one? Yeah? You see this? This should be yours. Yeah? Ah, good. Okay, so this is yours. So I have to do it for Mr. Farley. Right. Okay, now let me think. This is the one who needs is being sent with a flying doctor service. Urgent referral to surgeon. Flying doctor is going to take him straight to the surgeon. Yeah, so it's quite urgent, it seems. Okay. Of liver abscess. I would possibly put an article in front of liver abscess. Please we need your urgent assessment with an ultrasound-guided drainage. So we have to mention that, yeah? Okay. Urgent assessment with an ultrasound-guided drainage. Okay, now you've got to watch this because this is virtually the same words as the case notes. There's only a couple of changes there, so you do have to paraphrase. Urgent assessment. Okay, I would be tempted, because we've got two sentences here, we don't really need that. I would be tempted to, I'm writing to request your urgent assessments and ultrasound guided drainage of Mr Mustafa, who is diagnosed with, etc. You could do it like this. I don't know if you would need to put all this detail in the first sentence, but okay. In terms of his medical history, Mr. Mustafa, see me, I'm complaining of feeling well with decreased. I would probably not have an article there because we're talking about a decrease in appetite in general, with decreased appetite, which has resulted in weakness and lack of energy. A tender-right hypochondrium was noticed on the examination. 2 days later, his condition was getting worse. It was getting worse, or it got worse. It had got worse. So I would probably change that because it had got worse. I know it says is getting worse, but it has got worse. His condition was getting worse. So his condition was getting worse, but when you saw him, it had worsened from the previous 2 days. 2 days later, his condition was getting worse. Okay, with a 39-degree temperature, along with chills and rigors. My over here has developed food intolerance with jaundice. Now, do you think mentioning his smoking and drinking is something that you might want to include? I was looking at some of these letters today, and nobody said anything because I'm reading the case notes. So he's on 20 cigarettes a day, and he drinks 14 units a week, which is not excessive. I think the GMC recommendation for male adults is something like 14 units a week. I think. I'm not sure if that's true. Do you think that we should have included the smoking and the drinking? Because it mentions it twice. It doesn't just mention it once, it mentions it twice. If we look at the notes, which I hope you have, it says smokes 20 cigarettes a day, drinks 14 units a week, and then the next one, he reduced the smoking to 5 a day, and he had a week off of drinking. So I don't know if you think that would be pertinent. Yeah, I would have maybe included that in the social and medical history. Okay, in terms of assessment and plan, do you think we should mention the flying doctor? You know, it's urgent. I'm sending him by plane to you immediately. Do you think we should mention that? Should we mention the flying doctor? I think so too. So the introductions, okay. We know what you want the reader to do. Okay. Urgent, give him a drainage. Okay. Then what we have to do then is to construct a narrative. You're telling a story as to what leads up to you making this request. It's the same for every letter. Maybe the medical history is important. Maybe the social history needs to come first, or the main medical issue, regardless of what the letter task is. you have to, you have to say why you are writing and tell a story as to how this came to be. So it depends if you think the social history is important. For example, somebody sent me, if you look at the case notes, again, it says he likes scuba diving and sailing. Okay, I corrected a letter from a guy this morning, and he said, please note, Mr. Mustafa, Mr. Mustafa has just returned from spending 2 weeks in the Philippines. And I thought, well, okay, but how is that pertinent in any sense? Does the surgeon, really need to know that Mr. Mustafa likes going on holiday? Do we need that? I don't think so. So someone included that in a letter which they sent me today. So it's up to you. What OET does on purpose, right? They put all this in, and they want to find out if you can pick and how good you are at logically selecting the case notes which are relevant and pertinent. Now, just having a holiday in the Philippines, what does I mean? If, for example, if you had just been on holiday to Brazil and you were suspected of Zika fever, then you having a holiday in Brazil might be pertinent, Or if you were suspected of having Ebola and you just come back from the Congo, possibly that might be pertinent, yeah. But just going to the Philippines with no reference to what he actually did there, I don't know if that's really pertinent. Anyway, in terms of assessment plan, my patient is on. Okay, please note ultrasound examination was done, which revealed enlarged liver or an enlarged liver, because he's only got one, I think, an enlarged liver with a cystic lesion, with acystic lesion, only one lesion. Liver abscess, which requires third person S, your urgent assessment with an ultrasound-guided drainage. Please contact me if you have any further queries. So, okay, not so bad. In terms of English, it's good. Just 1 or 2 missing articles, and watch that third person S on your main verbs. So the English part's good. It's just possibly there's some things that you could include to increase your task fulfillment score. Some relevant information and details from the notes, which would, show what exactly. Well, possibly, Rosita, you say, but it doesn't say anything about it. It just said, oh, he's had 2 weeks in the Philippines. It didn't say he had any issues there. It just said, oh, by the way, he's just come back from his holiday. Unless you draw some correlation with that, it's not worth including. You can't simply include information without drawing some attention to it or making some kind of a connection. So, not so bad, just maybe be a bit more selective in terms of case notes. Right, Pinar. I don't know if Pinar's here. Let me have a look. I don't know who's in now. Let's have a look who's in here. Is Pinar here? Doesn't look like she's here. Okay, well, this is hers. So we'll have a quick look at it and see. I'm writing to refer Mr. Mustafa to you. His features are suggestive and encouraging for attention, including ultrasound-guided drainage. Okay, it's not so bad. You could have put what you want first and then mention it instead of back and forth, Instead of like saying, I'm writing to refer why, then who, you know, so I'm writing to refer him because I want you to do this. Okay. 2 days ago, Mr. Mustafa attended to my clinic, or presented with a complaint of lack of appetite, sense of weakness. I wouldn't use a singular with a complaint, because it's not just one. It's complaining of several things. I would probably just make it continuous, complaining of lack of appetite, or a lack of appetite, sense of weakness, or feeling weak. I don't know about sense of weakness and lack of energy, or a lack of energy, as well as nauseating. Now, you can't really use nauseating in that verb form. You could make it an adverb. Hang on, feeling. You make an adjective, feeling nauseous, but nauseating. I mean, nauseating. I don't know. I find this nauseating. You can't really use it in that way, as well as feeling sick, or feeling, as well as, yeah, that's better. Feeling, no, have I spelt this right? Feeling nauseous, yeah, I have. For 3 days, for the last 3 days. Because if you don't include that, it could be, you know, I was feeling nauseous for 3 days. Which three days are you talking about? 3 days last week, 3 days last year. So to make it clear, for the last 3 days. Apart from tender, from tenderness, a tenderness. The examination was unremarkable. Therefore, I ordered investigations. Investigations are, well, who's going to? It's not an investigation, is it really? It's a test. You can investigate. If you order investigations, I mean, you are ordering someone else to investigate. But if you are simply ordering some kind of tests, then that is better. I don't know if I would use that. I ordered investigations. And vitamin B tablet, what? I ordered investigations, and I ordered investigations, and I also ordered vitamin B tablet. We need a different verb in front of that one. I ordered investigations and prescribed. We need the verb. Prescribe both vitamin D tablets and essential forte capsule. So these verb forms need a bit of work here. Today, Mr. Mustafa came with worsening symptoms like, well, it's not like. Like means something is similar to something else. I don't know. Tea is a hot drink like a coffee. Similar to, but it's not similar to, it's an actual. So with worsening symptoms, you can either say such as, or simply put a comma and then list the symptoms. The worsening, oh, that's not spelt right. Go with worsening symptoms. Okay, put a comma and then list the symptoms. Dark colored urine, inability or an inability to tolerate solid foods, and chills and rigors. So if it's not the same, I would use dark colored. You could use, yeah, you could use urine a discoloration, or you could say dark colored. In English spelling, we always use U. If it's a word such as color, valor, honor, we always spell it with a U. It's only our American associates who don't, who spell those words simply with OR. Okay, examination revealed. Examination. You could have, but to make it a complete sentence, an examination, the examination revealed jaundice, dehydration, and threatening the temperature, comma, along with palpable and tender liver, with apalpable and tender liver, with no, additionally deranged enzymes, what's in his blood tests, and the urine test or his urine test. So we need to have an article or a pronoun revealed. Okay. I started IV fluids along with 1 gram. This looks like notes. What's this? 1 gram. You need to be spelling. You know, if you're using too many abbreviations, and this looks like notes, and it does say make complete sentences. Okay, so that needs to be worked on there, I think. Mr. Mustafa is a drinker and a smoker. Okay, but is it excessive drinking, excessive smoking? Simply that he drinks and smokes. He reported 2 weeks now. Articles. Now, if it's a country, just to refer back to articles which we've mentioned a couple of times before, one other use is, you know, when you're mentioning country names like Italy, Germany, Pakistan, India, you don't use an article. But if it's something like the Philippines, the USA, the UK, the People's Republic of China, etc., then you need a definite article. And okay, and again, I questioned the pertinence of simply dropping in some information without making any kind of link. Oh, by the way, doctor, I've just come back from 2 weeks in the Philippines. Okay, thanks for telling me. What's the connection? So don't drop in details without making any kind of link, or as if we're supposed to automatically understand what that means. In view of the above, my provisional diagnosis is liver abscess. Then your further assessment and management is needed. Is liver abscess. End that there. Your further assessment management is needed for Mr. Farmer's situation. Please contact me if you have any queries. Okay, so mentions drinking, smoking. Okay, doesn't say anything about flying a doctor. I'm urgently sending him to you by the doctor service with a nurse in attendance. Please see him urgently, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the flying doctor and the nurse are only important to convey the urgency of a situation. That's it. Yeah, so I would include it in any case. So not too bad, but a couple of things that we could change there in terms of grammar, I think. Okay, who else have we got? Do we have anybody else here? So, oh, Pinar, I see that you are here. Do you have any questions about any of the comments I've just made? If you raise your hand, I can turn your microphone on if you've got a question. It's just a bit of grammar. Some of these verb forms need a bit of attention, and some articles. No? Well, you can, if you do have any questions, you can ask me later on. Okay, after that, I don't know if he's here. Is he here? Or she? I don't know, I can't remember. So what time is it? 20 past 11. I don't know if I've got time to do all these. G, we looked at one of yours, I think, in the previous one. Have we done one of yours? G, so we've done Rasita, Shakir, Asma, Mary, Samani, Sandeep, Shaheen. Oh, yeah, and we have had a look at yours, so not so bad. And okay, Mr. Mustafa. So, who else have we got? Joseph's letter, I can talk to him later. Shady, we've just done yours. Okay, so I'll have a quick look at G's, and well, I'll have a quick look at FS, because we've had a look at one from G and one from Shady. See how it goes. 20 past 11. Okay. I'm referring this patient as resistant signs of with the liver abscess. With a liver abscess. Referring this patient. You can use this patient, but I think most people would put the name. Mr. Mustafa, who was presenting signs and symptoms compatible with. I don't know if that's if we would use that compatible. I mean, you use compatible to mean that something is works with something else, like most mobile phones are compatible with micro USB. So compatible might not be the right word here. Suggestive is better, or I diagnose him. Now, I don't know, I wouldn't use this presenting, really, because he presented a couple of days ago, and then he came back, and you think he's got a liver abscess. So he's not presenting with signs and symptoms. You have diagnosed him, or your initial diagnosis is a liver abscess. So that part's good. Requiring urgent assessment, possible ultrasound. Compatible, I wouldn't use. It doesn't mean quite what you think it does in this context. Presenting, I wouldn't use that really, because that's what you use when somebody comes to see you in a surgery. You've already made a diagnosis. So, okay. Initially, Mr. Mustafa presented to me complaining of malaise, loss of appetite, and lethargy for 3 days. Okay, for 3 days. So we need something lasting for 3 days. Having a 3-day history of, for 3 days, what 3 days? The previous 3 days, 3 days last Tuesday, 3 days last week, 3 days in 2018. When? Yeah? For the last 3 days. Okay. Only double nation detectors for tenderness or ATA. Again, you can use an article or not. It just depends if you're talking about tenderness in general, or if you're talking about a particular one, you know. So you could just leave it with 0 article, or you could put 1 a tenderness. Based on a provisional diagnosis of liver disease or mood swings due to change in drinking or smoking. Oh, this is a slightly awkward. I think that should be habits. Some laboratory tests were odd. What, some random kind of tests? You know, some means in general, so I wouldn't use that. But with those disease or mood. So is it disease or is it mood swings? I'm not quite sure what that sentence is trying to say. Due to change in drinking or smoking habits. Is it drinking or? I thought it was. That sentence is not very clear. I'm not really sure what you are trying to say. Moreover, modifying diet was advised and vitamins were prescribed. Modifying diets, what, who, what, his, a diet, we discussed, we advised, I advised. Okay, that's not very natural, not very well phrased at all. Okay. Today, Mr. Mustafa reported his condition had worsened. Okay, that's better. Past perfect. Could not tolerate any fruit except for. Now, we don't need a definite article here because we're talking about fruit juice in general. Okay, so we don't need that. Furthermore, the patient experienced chills and rivers along with darkening of his urine colour. On examination, a high-grade fever, joints, and dehydration were observed. Well, you didn't just observe them; you found them by examination. Observation doesn't mean examination. It just means that you can see or notice. It's not quite the same thing. Examination as observation. Additionally, it should be a comma, not a full stop. Test results revealed some changes, random changes, which were compatible with infective hepatitis. Therefore, intravenous food and antibiotics were administered, and the ultrasound reports were observed. All passive. Okay. Please note all test results and ultrasound reports are enclosed. We appreciate this has been performed. Possible drainage of the liver abscess. Okay, well, I don't know. What do you think about this one? Some changes, some tests. Very general, a little bit general here. Some stuff, okay. A bit of but some changes. What kind of changes? Some laboratory some tests were ordered. We need a bit of detail here, I think. Nothing about the flying doctor. Okay. I would have included it. I would have mentioned something about at the end, therefore, due to the urgency, I am sending Mr. Mustafa by flying doctor to you in order that you can blah, 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 blah. Yeah? So I would have done something such as that. So the grammar's good. Just one of two things. Maybe a bit more focus on what details to include might have worked a little better. But still, not too bad. Okay, so this has been an hour and 25 now. I'll finish it there because I'm not spending all day sat in front of this computer screen. I've got some other things to do. So before I go, does anybody have any last minute questions or comments? You can raise your hand. I'll turn your microphone on because I'm going soon. So does anybody have any questions, any comments about anything before I go? I've still got to mark some other letters, some premium students have sent me. Got to get on with that. Are you going to continue assessing the rest tomorrow? I don't really know what I'm going to do. I wanted Joseph to send me a task. I think what I might do for tomorrow is, if anybody has any letters they want me to have a look at, if they send them to me, to my email, whatever I've got. There's only two letters here that I haven't looked at. Let me have a look. What do I have here? There's one by G. Dr. Joseph sent me one, another one by Shady. That's all I've got on this particular file. If you sent me letters since, I haven't seen them. I'll take a look in my mail, Easy Task, a Patreon. Some people sent me some letters. What I want is people to to send me letters to a place, because I've got letters in Telegram, Easy Class, in Patreon, etc. So that's 4 different sources. I haven't got time to be scooting around every website's communication tool to find letters that people have sent me, because it's too much trouble. It's too much time, which I don't have. So, well, I did say assignments easy, send to easy class. That is what I said. That's the whole point of it. All right, I said easy class. Now, Dr. Joseph didn't send me any task for tomorrow, so I might assess some letters that people have sent me on easy class. If anybody's got any other random letters with case notes, we can maybe take a look at those. I don't really know. I'll be here. I'll send you I've sent you the link for tomorrow. I'll post it in the group. Whatever people have, we'll take a look at. You know, we only have a week. Well, it was only 6 days. So whatever people have, maybe Joseph will post the task when he comes back, or he'll send me a task later, because he's out for the day. So anyway, I'm going to stop the recording now, because we don't need that. If anybody's got any questions, so I'll post this recording in easy class. I'll do it within the next half an hour, so you can find it there. I'll put the letter corrections there also.